Hello. Tonight, we're going to talk about something quiet, something no one remembers, something buried beneath the battles and the heroes and the galactic headlines. Not Jedi, not Sith, not prophecy, just people. The ones who didn't make the holovids, the ones who didn't change the course of history, the ones who simply showed up day after day and disappeared. This is the life of a rebel foot soldier, unremarkable, underpaid, unrecorded. The kind of life you fall asleep in without anyone noticing you were there. So get comfortable. You don't have to stay awake for this. But if you do, kick back, grab a snack, and let's begin. You wake up to the sound of your own breath. Shallow. Damp. Somewhere between a cough and a sigh. The ceiling above you isn't a ceiling. It's the underside of a rusted troop transport, its landing struts sunk deep into the swamp you've been living in for 3 weeks. Or maybe 5. You stopped counting after your datapad shorted out from mold. Outside, something screeches. You don't flinch. Probably not important. If it is, someone else will scream. You sit up. Your blanket is a tarp. Your pillow is your jacket. Your bed is a patch of mud that used to be drier. It's all yours. In the same way a ditch belongs to a corpse. You're a rebel foot soldier, not a pilot, not a spy, not a chosen one with a destiny and a soundtrack. Just one of 200 bodies in a half-functioning camp, rotting slowly on a nameless outer rim swamp nobody wants. This planet was liberated last month, which means you helped flatten half the settlements, scorch the food supply, and, accidentally, leave half the population buried under rubble while fighting off the Empire. There were barely any Imperials deployed here, and you still lost about 50 men. Now you're here to win hearts and minds. The locals don't hate you. Not exactly. They're just tired. Tired of being saved. Tired of one regime getting blasted out of orbit just so another one can pitch tents in their garden. They hated the Empire. But the Empire showed up on time. Collected taxes. Paved roads. The locals knew what to expect. You showed up in mismatched armor and immediately asked for food. They expected structure. They got a 19-year-old with a blaster and trench rot. The camp is strung across a few square clicks of wet forest and broken wreckage. Maybe 200 of you. Some sleep in tents, some under hulls. Some just lie down and stop moving until someone checks if they're breathing. There's no mess hall, no command post. Just a loose circle of troopers dug in around a gutted freighter that smells like a dumpster fire and despair. Standard issue for a rebel foot soldier is an A280 blaster rifle, sidearm, combat knife, ration packs, medkit, and light armor. You have none of that. Your rifle is a DLT-20A with a cracked scope and a heat vent that screams when it fires. Your knife is made from the scrap of a TIE fighter. Your boots are older than the rebellion itself. Your medkit is a strip of cloth and a solid sense of denial. No grenades, no sidearm, no backup, and most of the time, not even orders. You scrounge for food, supplies, and direction. In that order. The last thing that came down from command said to hold position. The message before that was an apology. The message before that was a retreat order to a base that was destroyed 6 months ago. You stopped asking what's real. Sometimes a crate drops out of the sky. Sometimes it has batteries. Sometimes it's full of gear. Most of the time, it doesn't even fit anybody there and still has the blood of the previous soldier stained into it. The officer meant to lead your unit caught the infection after some mysterious reptile bit him. He died within a week. His replacement disappeared 2 days later. Someone said he wandered into the trees with a flask and a smile. You hope he made it. You also hope you don't end up like him, optimistic. There's a comm beacon near the ridge. It hums, it clicks, it repeats something encrypted. No one knows what it's saying anymore. It could be telling you to stand by. It could be a weather warning from last month. You check it anyway. It's routine. And routine is the only thing keeping you from falling apart. You go on patrol. Not because you were ordered, because that's what people like you do when no one's watching. You follow a plan that doesn't exist because the alternative is remembering you were never part of the plan in the first place. The locals sometimes offer food, sometimes warnings. Sometimes they just stare at you like they're deciding if you're worth shooting. You smile. You keep your hand near your blaster. You try not to think about what the Empire would have done differently. Your day is a cycle of wet boots, silent meals, and walking in circles. You used to dream about victory. Now you just hope no one asks you to dig any more latrines. You write home sometimes, if you even have a home. If there's even anyone left to read it. Most of you don't. So you write anyway, and then delete the message. It helps. A little. At night, the fog rolls in and the air goes still. The insects don't stop, but your brain stops listening. Someone hums a song that might be real. Someone else coughs until they stop. You warm your hands near a barrel fire. The flames are low. The silence is heavy. Someone says a bad joke with no punchline. Everyone groans and rolls their eyes. You lie down under your tarp. Your back aches. Your fingers are cracked. Your rifle leans against your boot like it's tired too. The stars are gone. The sky doesn't care. You close your eyes, and in 6 hours, you'll wake up again, and it'll all start over. They say the rebellion is built on hope. That's not what you see. The rebellion you know is built on desperation, the kind that doesn't fit in speeches or holograms. It's stitched together with borrowed parts and people who never had a chance to begin with. You sit at the edge of camp, watching the fog creep through the trees. A patrol shuffles past. 2 humans, 1 Twi'lek, 1 Nikto. None of them match. Their armor is cobbled together from spare parts, painted over with whatever color was left in the crates. This isn't an army. It's a second chance for people who never got a first one. The man who sleeps 2 bunks down from you used to smuggle spice through hut space. He joined the rebellion because prison was colder. The woman who sharpens knives outside the supply crate every night, former Imperial cadet. Turned on her instructors mid-cycle, shot 2 officers, ran straight into your lines, and never looked back. No one asked why. No one needed to. Some people fight for freedom. Most of you fight because there's nowhere else to go. Your squad includes a Rhodian who lost 3 fingers and still handles explosives like he's got 10. A Mon Calamari, who never speaks but repairs comms like he's rewiring time itself. A teenage girl from a burned-out mining colony who cries in her sleep and sharpens a stick like it's a lightsaber. No one trained them for this. The Empire produces soldiers, rigid, disciplined, standardized. There's a form for everything, a consequence for failure. The rebellion finds warm bodies, gives them a blaster, and prays the next firefight doesn't require tactics. You met a sniper once, defected Imperial, calm, surgical. He could drop 20 stormtroopers in the span of minutes. He trained under the best, carried himself like war was just target practice. Within a week, he was pulled from your squad and reassigned to some higher-value stealth op on another planet. Your average rebel foot soldier can barely hit 1 target, and that's if the blaster doesn't jam. Imperials train for months. You get a 3-minute pep talk and become target practice for a stormtrooper. Recruitment happens on every planet. It has to, even though it breaks every regulation and security protocol. You lose people faster than you can count, and there's never enough left to fill the gap. So the second you land, someone starts handing out rifles. Anyone who can stand, shoot, or scream in the right direction is fair game. You are not rebel pilots. You don't get the best. You don't get survivors. You don't get clean escapes. Pilots fly bulky freighters, hyperjump out of danger, and live to see another star system. You face the Empire on the ground. Outnumbered, outgunned, outclassed. You share food with a Togruta who used to be a slave. She tells stories no one asks for, about camps, chains. What it's like to watch people you love get cataloged like inventory. You don't know if she's telling the truth, but you believe her anyway. The last time you got medical attention, they tied a cloth around it and told you to walk it off. That was 4 weeks ago. It still hurts. The guy in charge of gear is a Duros who doesn't speak much and smells like oil and smoke. He's missing half a finger, keeps inventory with a stick, and hands out weapons like he's already seen your obituary. You ask him once why he's still here. He says, "Somebody's got to keep passing out the bad ideas." He hands you a rifle with a cracked sight and 1 full charge. You nod, because someone handed it to you once too. No one talks about what they used to be. That kind of thinking gets people killed. You either let go of who you were, or this place will do it for you, piece by piece, memory by memory. The rebellion eats names. You've seen it happen. Someone disappears, and within a week, even their bunkmate forgets what they sounded like. Most people skip breakfast because they're not hungry. You skip breakfast because a rodent chewed through your rations. You eat your meals with people who speak 6 languages between them and barely understand each other. Orders come through in basic. Sometimes you follow the wrong one. The rest of the time, you fake it and pretend you were always meant to be digging that hole. The Empire feared aliens, feared disorder, feared anything that didn't fit in a regulation helmet. The rebellion embraced it all. Not out of virtue, but out of necessity. Everyone's welcome when you're bleeding out faster than you can recruit. In the span of a single month, you've replaced half your unit. None of them made it more than a week. One recruit didn't even know how to hold his rifle. He put the power cell in backward. You think about him more than you should. You've stopped asking who people were before this. Doesn't matter. They're gone in a week anyway, either rotated off-world or carried off by something with claws. The only thing you trust is the silence between stories. There's comfort in not knowing someone's name. It hurts less when they stop showing up to roll call. You watch the newcomers stumble through the mud, eyes wide, boots too clean. You don't say anything. You let the swamp break them in. Everyone joins for different reasons. Revenge, survival, shame. Or nothing at all. Maybe that's why the Empire is winning. They know who their people are. You're still figuring that out. After the destruction of the Death Star, the galaxy expected a turning point. But that's not what the rebellion got. The Empire lost a weapon. The rebellion lost its spine. Yavin 4 burned, and with it went the closest thing to command, structure, or sanctuary. What came next wasn't triumph. It was drift. Orders stopped. Coordination broke. And soldiers like you, nameless, uniformless, directionless, were pushed to the galaxy's edge and forgotten. Some ended up on ships. Not star cruisers, not frigates, just whatever could fly without falling apart. Mostly, it was GR-75 transports and cargo freighters stripped down and jammed with bodies. Old shipping bays were turned into barracks. Storage rooms became kitchens. Med bays, if they existed, were just closets with more stains than light. You didn't get a bunk. You got floor space and the sound of someone else's lungs. The ship recycles everything. Air, sweat, body heat, and mistrust. You sleep wrapped in someone's coat and hope it doesn't smell too strongly like whoever didn't wake up in it last. There are no windows, no clocks, just shift changes and shouting. Food is rationed based on who yells the loudest. Water comes in recycled cartons marked non-toxic in 4 languages. The people beside you aren't soldiers. Not really. They're smugglers, ex-prisoners, failed cadets, civilians with vendettas and nowhere to return to. They carry knives more than rifles. They talk in slang you don't recognize. They don't salute, and they sure as hell don't wait for permission. And yet, this is the army now. This is who you're supposed to trust when the airlock hisses open. One guy in your squad used to blow up Imperial pipelines. They only agree on 2 things. They hate the Empire, and they hate each other slightly less. You learn to keep your gear close and your opinions closer. Most, though, didn't make it onto ships. They were dropped on outer rim planets, scattered, buried in operational silence. No reinforcements, no extraction plan, just coordinates and an objective too vague to remember. One squad landed on a desert moon and had to chew roots for water. Another built shelter from the bones of local wildlife and wore its hide to stay warm. You're told to scavenge, to build local trust, to keep low and wait. You stop waiting. You just exist. You haven't seen a command officer in months. The last message said, "Hold position." That was 23 days ago. The transmitter broke on day 12. You eat what you can. Drink what you don't recognize. Wash with what doesn't scream when you touch it. You sleep when it's quiet. You move when it isn't. You don't patrol for strategy. You patrol because standing still makes your muscles forget they exist. You rotate watch with a guy whose name you never caught and a woman who hasn't spoken in a week. You think they're from different planets. They share a blaster like it's a shift pass. When you find a dead body, you take the ammo, the boots, and anything edible. You bury the rest if you have time. If not, you just don't look back. No one judges. That takes energy, and energy's for people with futures. You've seen whole units collapse without being attacked. One group stopped speaking entirely. They just pointed. Another painted faces on their helmets to keep track of who they were. A squad in the Gorman system built a fake radio and called in air support every morning for 30 days. On day 31, they stopped calling. No one knows what changed. You hear rumors of rebel squads turning into mercenary bands, of deserters forming their own alliances. Your whole body is covered in rashes. Normally that would gross people out. But here, it's so common no one blinks when you itch a spot you shouldn't be scratching, even mid-conversation. Infections spread. Sores fester. You wrap injuries in cloth and tell each other it's healing, even when it clearly isn't. Troopers boil their uniforms to kill whatever's growing in them. Some just stop wearing armor. Not because it's safer, just because it's less itchy. You don't know what day it is. You're not sure what system you're in. You're not even sure what victory looks like anymore. But you wake up. You load your weapon. You check the perimeter. Because somewhere, someone told you once that this mattered, and you haven't heard otherwise. Hoth wasn't chosen because it was safe. It was chosen because it was invisible. A glacier-coated wasteland, brutal and brilliant in its cold. The air cuts your throat when you breathe too deep. The ice shifts in slabs the size of cities. And overhead, a constant hail of asteroids slams into the planet like a never-ending bombardment. Not enough to destroy anything. Just enough to make sure no scanner can tell the difference between a falling rock and a fleeing ship. The surface is unlivable. But beneath the frost, there are caves. Deep, natural, winding things that twist beneath the crust like veins. That's where they built Echo Base. It was built quickly, not carefully. The walls creak, the ceilings drip. Entire sections of the base are still unmapped. Every few weeks, a wampa stumbles in and tears someone apart before the alarms even finish screaming. Still, it's the most established place you've been in years. A base with scale, with design, with layers. Echo Base is huge. Massive hangars hold starfighters and transports. There's a full medical wing. Not just a medic, but rooms, beds, sterilizers. Command has their own rooms, their own terminals, their own guards. From the outside, you'd never know any of it existed. Only the shield generator and ion cannon stick above the snow. Everything else is buried, cold and alive. You don't get a room. Most don't. You sleep on mats in the hangar or between crates in converted storage corridors. But compared to where you've been, swamps, caves, decks that reek of coolant and blood, it's an upgrade. There's heat, there's food, there's light. Most of the time, you're not surviving anymore. You're maintaining. Your job is simple, repetitive, necessary. You dig trenches, you run perimeter checks, you set up turret relays and swap out frozen cables. You scout the ridges and chart paths between ice fractures the size of buildings. Everything here is built to hold and to evacuate. Every door has a secondary exit. Every hallway leads to a failsafe. Every soldier knows what to do if the call comes. Leave nothing. Burn everything. Run. But it's not the cold that wears you down. Not really. It's the structure. There's routine now, schedules, rosters, chain of command. After years of chaos, it should be a relief. But it just makes the silence louder. You're not cold and starving anymore. You're fed, warm, and slowly losing track of yourself. Because now you have time to think. And no one to talk to. The base is full. But it feels empty. People don't joke here. They don't relax. They move like pieces in a larger plan, one they weren't invited to read. Some of the old rebels can't stand it. They've spent years living by instinct, fighting with broken weapons and worse orders. Now they're told when to sleep, when to clean, when to march. They don't blend well with the others, and the others don't understand them. Because half the soldiers here are what's left of the old rebellion. Smugglers, raiders, prisoners, people who lost everything to the Empire and signed up because there was nowhere else to go. And the other half? Kids. Barely adults. Fresh defectors from Imperial academies or idealists who signed up last cycle. They wear clean gear, speak in slogans, follow rules like they mean something. They've never been shot at. They've never lost a squad mate. Some of them think Echo Base is the beginning of something. A real movement. A clean war. And maybe they're right. Because for the first time in a long time, there are generals again. Real ones. Officers with plans. Strategists who walk the halls like they know where they're going. The younger soldiers look at them and see structure. They see hope. The older ones see a countdown. You stay quiet. You follow the list. You clean your rifle. You replace a sensor. You scrape ice off a vent and tell yourself you made a difference. You don't ask what comes next. You just wait for it to come. Echo Base isn't a refuge. It's a fortress with a fuse. No one says it out loud, but everyone's packed for departure. Even the air feels temporary. The routine doesn't comfort you. It freezes you. Slowly. Efficiently. You're not starving anymore. You're just stalled. Still here. Still cold. Still waiting. It starts with a low vibration in the ice. Not sound. Not motion. A pressure, slow and steady, crawling up your spine. At first, no one speaks. Then the perimeter sensors light up, and the alarms follow. You knew this was coming. Everyone did. But knowing doesn't prepare you. Nothing prepares you. The trench fills fast. Old rebels, new ones, kids, lifers, the medic, the cook. Anyone who can hold a blaster gets a firing line. You glance at the recruit next to you. He's shaking, trying to reload a charge pack into the wrong slot. His helmet's not even sealed. You help him fix it. He doesn't say thank you. He just stares straight ahead, eyes wide, teeth clenched. Another kid a few meters down starts crying. Quietly. No one says anything. You've all done it at some point. You're near the ion cannon, not operating it, guarding its flank. If it stays online, transports can get out. If it fails, everyone dies in place. Simple math. You're part of the subtraction. The walkers, known as ATATs, lumbered across the icy plains, moving slow, like time itself is bending to get out of the way. Then following behind ATSTs come next. Faster, harsher, closer. It tears through the forward trench like it's paper. You watch a whole squad vanish under it. You think it's your squad. You don't have time to check. Someone next to you hurls an explosive. It sticks to the ATST's leg, and by some divine math, it actually detonates right. The walker collapses sideways like a dying animal, flattening everything around it. There's no celebration, just a few seconds of less screaming. And then the snowtroopers arrive. No stormtroopers. They sent the ones made for this. White on white, wrapped in frost gear and silence. They move in formation, clean, perfect, unshaken by the explosions. One of them drops into the trench 20 feet from you. Your buddy shoots him 4 times in the chest. It barely slows him down. You finish the job with a grenade. Your ears are ringing. Might have been the blast. Might have been everything else. Another transport takes off overhead. You hear the ion cannon fire. You tell yourself you helped. You're not sure it's true. But you tell yourself anyway. The kid next to you tries to reload again. His gloves are shaking too badly. He fumbles the charge. It falls into the snow. He dives after it. He doesn't come back up. You don't check. You're too busy firing at shadows. The trench starts collapsing. Ice walls crack, sag, give way. You backpedal over bodies you didn't realize were there. Every time a walker goes down, and it doesn't happen often, there's a pause in the firing. Just for a second. Just long enough for someone to cheer or cry. It's not victory. It's relief. A chance to pretend something went right. You're running low on charge packs. Your sidearms jammed. You can't feel your fingers. Not from fear, just from frost. You try to remember the last time you could feel your fingers. You can't. Someone screams that the ATAT is breaching the final line. Someone else says to fall back. No one moves. There's nowhere to fall back to. You fire until the trigger clicks. Then you throw the gun. It makes a sound like futility. You get another one from the guy beside you. Doesn't need it anymore. Still warm. Still bloody. Still works. You stand, because crouching feels too much like hiding. And that's when it happens. The ATAT stops walking. It turns its head, if you can call it that. The chin cannon pivots. Slow. Intentional. Director. You look left. You look right. 3 others are beside you. One's the recruit who finally got his blaster loaded. He's smiling. He thinks something good is about to happen. You don't say anything. There's a sound. Thick, electric, final. Then there isn't. Not sound, not sight, not thought. Just absence. But the ion cannon fired again, and the shield held. And another ship got out. You'll never know who was on it, and they'll never know who held the line. But someone did. And for now, that's still enough. Not alone. Not loudly. Just as expected. No one carved your name into the ice. No one logged your final position. The report said, heavy casualties during ground assault. You were part of the heavy. Maybe someone escaped because of you. Maybe not. But you stayed. You held. And you ended exactly where forgotten soldiers always do. There won't be a statue. There won't be a story. But there was a trench, and you were in it. And sometimes, that's all history remembers. Not who lived, but who stayed. Maybe you're asleep. Maybe you're still here. If you are, stay warm, lean back, and enjoy the music. And if you want more stories like this, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment if you think you'd be able to survive as a rebel foot soldier. We'll be back soon, with more forgotten tales from the archives.